Going to return to our top story this evening. Of course, we're getting reaction to the sad news of the death of the singer Sinead O'Connor. I'm joined by the Irish writer Sinead Gleeson. She met Sinead O'Connor and has written about her impact as a musician and of course as an activist. Okay, can we start by concentrating on the music before we talk about the person? How was she as a musician? Well, she was incredible. And she was also very unique, because she came out of nowhere and started very young. So the musical landscape of Ireland in the 1980s and 1990s was very male. It went from Thin Lucy to U2 and beyond, and there was a lot of band. One talk about people who would print off on top of the pops, or musically, but also politically, what she did through her music. And I think that a lot of people weren't expecting this very tiny, small, beautiful woman to be speaking about the things she was speaking about, and to sound like she did. I mean, her voice to my mind still doesn't sound like anybody else, and the fact that she used it very politically playlist on British radio. So Sinead was very much out there on her own, and not only was she a female artist in a very male-dominated field, she looked the way she did and she sounded the way she did. She was completely unique, and she didn't care what people thought about her. She had a lot of things to say. Sounded the way she did. She was completely unique, and she didn't care what people thought about her. And I think from very early arms, Janine decided, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to be, I don't want to be, I don't want to couch out to feminism. I don't want to look a certain way. I want to be taken seriously from my lyrics to the songs that I wrote on. This is another thing in an industry where a lot of women were given songs to sing, weren't producing their own musician neighbors, doing both of those things very early on. I mean, Mandinka, the breakthrough single that everybody knows, she is 20. Played music, played guitar on it, produced, wrote, and she was doing that right from the start. So right out of the trap, she basically was, I'm going to own this. I'm not going to be some or record company whole career. I think the idea that she was transgressive, she didn't want to do what she was told, and she had a lot of things to say, and even at great cost she said those things. Sometimes her background didn't define her, as you say, but she wasn't ever very far from tragedy. And even from a young age, I mean, she talked about the mental health issues she suffered as a young child, because her mother had physically and sexually abused it. And then this recent tragedy talked to us about that, the sad death of her son, Shane, just 17 years old, yet has 4 children, and her daughter Routine. Actually, I've seen Russian sing with Sinead on a couple of occasions, and Shane died early last year. He was a young man, 17, on the brink of his own life, and I think he had his own struggles, and ended his life in a very sad way. I think it was very catastrophic. Christian age, she was very public about her grief, her anger at care home systems in Ireland, and at the hospital in particular, and I think had been very public. She always has been in her life. Whenever Sinead wants to speak about something and is angry about something and feels as an injustice, which she did in the treatment of her own son and her subsequent death, she spoke out about it. And to think, I can't imagine her the last year and a half. He has been quite quiet and low-key. The last she has been working on music. So I believe this is the big problem, the big loss we're going to face now. Only 56, she has been making music for heading on for 40 years, and now that we're not going to hear any new music, we're not going to see what was going to happen next with such a remarkable and unique singer. I think we all have empathy with that, and I don't think anyone gets over the death of their own child. Can we talk about singers and religion? I mean, she had a controversial relationship with the Catholic faith. I think as a result of that, she recently converted to Islam. Did she ever talk about that and why she did that? She talked about a lot of things. I mean, I think if you're a woman who grew up in Ireland in the 80s and 90s, there's a lot of grounds to have a lot of problems with the Catholic Church, and not just of that decade, but historically with mother and baby homes, mags and laundries, all subjects that Sinead dealt with in her work. And the lack of abortion rights, the fact that there was no marriage equality, we didn't have divorce until the 90s, and Sinead spoke about all these things, and I think she was a thorn on the side of a lot of people, particularly people in the church, which is why she railed against them. She spoke up at a time, and the context of this is really important. It wasn't easy to say the things that Sinead said. I think across her dearly when she tore up the picture of the Pope on Saturday night, Live in America, and it derailed her American career for a long time, and she got a lot of criticism, but she never stopped speaking. It never quietened her down. In fact, it made her more determined. We've had various reports into clerical abuse in Ireland, and Sinead O'Connor was speaking About that when nobody was talking about it she really decided I'm not going to be quiet about subjects that are causing intergenerational trauma, and I think she related some of our own experience to this as well, so I think yeah we had this incredible voice and we had the music, but we also had somebody who was very much an activist and somebody who spoke up. Not many artists draw a statement from the Prime Minister but you can feel the extent of the loss from the statement we got from Leo Varadkar this evening. I mean she is a loss to the music world, but I get the sense that she is an iconic figure in life there in Ireland. She is a huge figure. I mean I was speaking better on radio earlier on, everybody who was speaking about it was very somber. We all just heard I'm quite devastated. I have to tell him like myself about it, and there is nobody like her, and we owe her a great debt, not just to all the female musicians who came after, but for all the kind of conversations that she started that were so important in a kind of social and cultural cantot. Ireland. Everybody who was speaking about it was Lynn indeed. So Sinead Gleeson, thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts with us this evening, and condolences to everyone who knew her. Thank you very much. Foreign across the UK, this is IT World News.
Subscribe for latest news.